I'm 44 now, and I've been married to my wife since we were 25. We met during our last year of college, hit it off fast, and got married within 2 years. A little quick, maybe, but we were that annoyingly perfect couple everyone rolled their eyes at. We were never on and off. We barely even fought. She made me believe in soulmates, for real. Our daughter, Emily, was born a year after we got married. She's 17 now. And for almost her entire life, I've loved her like nothing else in this world. I've always been the kind of dad who went to every recital, every parent-teacher night, every basketball game. I took time off work when she had the flu. I drove her to college visits. I taught her how to parallel park. She calls me dad. She hugs me first when she's sad. She says I'm her favorite person in the world. But none of that changes what I found out last year. And the worst part? I'm still pretending like everything is normal. It all started with a routine life insurance application. Yeah, I know how stupid that sounds, but it's the truth. I was filling out a form for a policy increase, and part of the process included a basic blood test and some optional genetic screening. I didn't think anything of it, just another hoop to jump through. A few weeks later, the results came back, and something was off. I was flagged as not being a potential biological match for a child with my daughter's blood type. I thought it had to be a mistake. I double-checked my own blood type, then Emily's, which I knew by heart because she had a mild reaction during a hospital visit years ago. The math didn't add up. My type and my wife's couldn't possibly produce Emily's. Not unless one of us wasn't actually her parent. At first, I was convinced the lab had messed up. So I did what any rational, quietly panicking father would do. I bought 2 at-home DNA kits, one for me and one for Emily. I told her it was for a fun ancestry project, something we could do together and laugh about later. She was all for it. She joked about discovering she was royalty or adopted from a secret alien civilization. It took 3 weeks to get the results. 3 weeks of pretending to be normal, of helping with college essays, of sitting across the dinner table from my wife and daughter, wondering what kind of twisted alternate universe I had just entered. When the email finally came, I already knew what it would say. I was not Emily's biological father. I stared at the screen for a long time after that. I don't even remember how long. It felt like the kind of moment people talk about right before their lives split in two. Before and after. The result wasn't vague. It wasn't a maybe. It said with over 99% certainty that Emily and I were not biologically related. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even tell anyone. I just sat there. Absolutely frozen. My wife was in the other room watching a show. Emily was upstairs in her bedroom, playing music way too loud like always. It all felt normal. And yet everything in my head had exploded. That night I couldn't sleep. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling, listening to my wife breathing beside me. Every time I looked at her, I wondered if she knew. If she had always known. If she'd spent the last 17 years looking me in the eye, lying through her teeth. If the I love yous were real or just some long con she convinced herself was justified. And then there was Emily. How could I even begin to process that she wasn't mine? She felt like mine. Every memory, every moment, every decision I ever made since I was 27 years old had revolved around her. But now I couldn't stop asking myself a brutal question: who was her real father? And worse, did my wife cheat on me, or was it something else? I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. I needed answers. Quietly. So I started digging. The digging started harmless at first. Old photo albums, emails, bank statements from nearly 2 decades ago. I told myself I was just trying to fill in the gaps, not looking to catch her in a lie, but let's be honest. I wanted to catch her. I wanted a reason, something that could justify the storm building inside me. It didn't take long before I found it. A name I hadn't thought about in years. Mark. He was one of her coworkers at her first job out of college. Tall, smart, charming in a smug kind of way. I remember meeting him once. He came to a holiday party we hosted that first year we were married. He brought some expensive wine and wore a scarf indoors like he thought he was better than everyone else. I hated him immediately, but I chalked it up to instinctive jealousy. My wife swore he was just a work friend. I believed her because, back then, why wouldn't I? But that night, after finding his name in a few archived emails on her old laptop, I started to question everything. Most of the emails were mundane, project updates, work banter, but one stuck out. It was sent a few months before Emily was born. Just one line in the subject: we said we wouldn't talk again, but... The email itself was short and vague. No details. Just a single sentence. I'm scared it's yours. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I must have reread that line 20 times. I'm scared it's yours. I didn't even know who had written it, her or him. There was no email thread, no replies, no follow-up. Just that one single message buried in a folder I don't think she ever expected anyone to look in. It could have been a draft she forgot to delete. Or maybe she kept it on purpose. A digital scar she couldn't bring herself to erase. But to me, it was a detonator. That night, I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I told her I wasn't feeling well and locked myself in my office. She didn't push. She never does when I say I need space, and for the first time, I hated her for that. Not for what she might have done, but for how easily she accepted the distance between us. The next day, I called out of work. Told my boss I needed a personal day. I sat in my car in a parking lot for hours, trying to decide what to do next. Was I going to confront her? Ask her point blank? Tell her I knew? But I couldn't. Because every time I thought about it, all I could picture was Emily's face. Her smile. Her laugh. The way she still calls me dad like she did when she was 6. I didn't know if I could shatter her world just because mine had cracked underneath me. So instead, I made a plan. I needed to find out who Emily's biological father really was. Not to replace myself, but to know. To understand. Because there was a version of this story I was starting to fear more than all the rest, that she might not know either. I decided to track down Mark. It felt insane at first, trying to dig up someone we hadn't spoken to in nearly 2 decades. I wasn't even sure where to begin, but the internet is wild. A few old LinkedIn profiles, some digital breadcrumbs, and eventually I found him. Still working in finance, now in Chicago, recently divorced. No kids listed. I created a fake email. I wasn't ready to confront him directly as me. I just needed to know what he remembered, what he thought about back then. So I pretended to be an old college student doing career interviews for a writing project. I knew it was flimsy, but I figured if he replied, maybe I'd get some insight. He responded within a day. He was polite, friendly, even a little too eager, honestly. He mentioned working with some incredible people in his early years, including my wife. He didn't use her name, but he didn't have to. He said those years were messy but unforgettable. One line stopped me cold. I still wonder about how things could have turned out if we hadn't made that stupid choice. Stupid choice. What choice? I was suddenly sure he knew. That he had always known. Maybe not for certain, maybe not officially, but enough to wonder. Enough to plant a seed of guilt that had probably grown roots over time. It wasn't proof, but it was something. And then I did the thing I told myself I wouldn't. I created a second DNA kit. And I sent it to him anonymously. I included a note with the kit. Nothing dramatic. Just a simple typed message that said, "You may have a daughter. If you're willing to know the truth, submit the test." No names. No return address. I used a burner email to register the kit and opted into results sharing so I could see when he submitted it. If he submitted it, the waiting almost drove me mad. I checked the tracking every morning before brushing my teeth. I checked it again before bed. Every day that passed felt like I was watching the seconds of my life tick away while holding a grenade with the pin already out. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my closest friend, not even a therapist. It felt too personal. Too dangerous. Then, exactly 16 days later, I got the notification. Sample received. My stomach dropped. He actually sent it in. He wanted to know. The results took another week. I thought I'd be ready. I'd convinced myself I'd already accepted the answer, that it couldn't shock me anymore. But when I opened the email and saw the match, father and child, 99.999%, I still felt like the ground was falling out from under me. Mark is Emily's biological father. I sat at my desk, watching the confirmation on the screen, and suddenly the whole past made sense. Her nose, her chin, the way she tilts her head when she's concentrating, they weren't mine. I had always told myself kids get traits from all over the family tree. Turns out, they do, just not my tree. And the worst part? I still loved her more than anything in the world. For the next few days, I walked around like a ghost. At home, I smiled. I made dinner. I helped Emily with her college application essays like nothing had changed. But every time I looked at her, my chest got tight. It was this weird, suffocating mix of love, betrayal, and fear. Because now I had a secret too. And here's what messed me up the most, I wasn't angry at Emily. Not even a little. She had no part in any of this. She's still the same girl who ran to me when she scraped her knee. Still the same teenager who texts me after school just to say hi. She's mine in every way that counts, except the one that blew my world apart. The anger was all aimed at my wife. I watched her more closely. Listened harder to the way she spoke about those early years. Looked for cracks in the timeline. And the more I watched, the more I realized something chilling. I don't think she knows. I think she believed I was the father this entire time. She's never once hinted otherwise. Not during pregnancy, not during birth, not in any moment since. There was no guilt in her eyes. No sign of hesitation. That email from back then, it might have been a passing fear she buried and forgot. Maybe she convinced herself it wasn't Mark's. Maybe she wanted it to be mine so badly that she just let herself believe it. But now I'm left with a question I can't escape. Do I tell her, or do I take this secret to my grave? I started writing letters. Not to send. Just to get it out. One to Emily, one to my wife, and one to Mark. I kept them hidden in a folder on my computer, password protected. Every time I updated them, I felt like I was rehearsing for a scene I wasn't sure I'd ever have the courage to perform. Some nights I stared at my wife while she slept, wondering how much of our life had been real to her. Had she looked at me and seen the father of her child? Or had she always been quietly afraid this truth would come out one day? And then there was the part of me that couldn't stop thinking about Mark. He had the results now. Same as me. He knew. He hadn't contacted me, not even a cryptic reply to that burner email. I kept expecting something. A message. A knock. Anything. But it was complete silence. Until yesterday. I was driving home from work when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost let it ring out, but something told me to answer. It was him. Mark. His voice was calm. Too calm. He said he wasn't calling to start trouble, that he didn't want to ruin anyone's life, that he had no intention of stepping in. Then he said something that left me rattled. She's yours. I don't need her to know about me. I just needed to know for myself. And just like that, he hung up. I sat in my car for almost an hour after that call ended. Engine running, hands still on the wheel, just stuck. He wasn't claiming her. He wasn't going to tell anyone. Mark knew the truth and was choosing silence. I should have felt relief, but I didn't. I felt more trapped than ever. Because now there were 3 of us living with this secret. One of us knew the full truth. One probably suspects nothing. And one might be living with something she buried so deep that even she doesn't know it's still breathing under the floorboards. That night, I couldn't pretend. After Emily went to bed, I told my wife I needed to talk. For real. The second she looked up from her book, I froze. I had practiced this 1,000 times. I had written out every version of it, angry, calm, betrayed, forgiving. But in that moment, none of the words came. So I didn't tell her. Not because I forgave her. Not because I decided it didn't matter. But because I looked at her, and I saw the life we'd built. I saw 17 years of shared moments, hard times, holidays, scraped knees, ER visits, dance recitals, and late-night panics over fevers and college tuition. I thought about destroying all of that with a single sentence. And I couldn't do it. So I lied. I told her I'd been stressed about work, that I felt disconnected, that I needed us to be more present with each other. She hugged me, kissed me on the cheek, said she felt the same and we'd work on it together. And just like that, we went back to normal. At least, she did. I'm not sure I ever will. I still don't know what the right thing to do is. Maybe one day I'll tell Emily the truth. Maybe one day it'll come out whether I want it to or not. But for now, I'm choosing silence. For her sake. For mine. Because even if the biology doesn't match, I'm still her father. And I always will be.